Don't stop going south, 'cause they'll let you play your music real damn loud. Don't stop heading south, 'cause they won't understand the words that are pouring from your mouth. Don't stop going.
Good morning, this is Eric again with Red Letter Leadership, coming at you with the second in a series of leadership vlogs that are going to answer some basic leadership questions. The first one we answered was, how do I find or form my leadership style? The second question we're going to answer today are, what are the most important traits of a leader? And I think we're going to call this the Beltway broadcast series as we travel up I-95 to Quantico, talking about this over the course of a few mornings. And so, what are the most important traits of a leader? I think most folks would answer that question in a wide variety of manners when asked, but I think there are three that are certainly really important to consider. The first one is integrity, which is defined by Oxford Dictionary as essentially moral uprightness. In the Marine Corps, we call it doing the right thing when nobody's watching. But as you tie it to moral uprightness, I think the question we ask is, what is our truth grounded in? As Christians, our truth is grounded in Scripture, in the Bible, the words of Jesus. And so as we search ourselves and we try to refine or define integrity for ourselves, it's essentially, what do we believe in and what do we stand for? And what do we feel is morally upright? As you move day to day, demonstration of integrity in a leader will build confidence. It will build cohesion amongst your team, and it will give them buy-in if you are consistent and predictable and are morally upright. If you have what we would call a chink in your moral armor, over time, that'll erode and you'll lose trust and confidence in your team. That's a very surface level definition of integrity and discussion on it. We could do a whole nother vlog just on integrity. But when we're talking about the traits of a leader, integrity has to be at the top of the list. The number two that we'll talk about today is communication. Communication is important because a leader has to have the ability to communicate his vision or his values, like we talked about with integrity, or his plan, or the end state of for us, the mission that we're trying to accomplish, to his team. And he needs to do it both up and down the chain of command, and not including his peers, right? So the ability to clearly communicate and articulate your thoughts, vision, attitudes, feelings to your team is vitally important. We have a role in the organizations that I've been a part of. I say, we don't just communicate, we over communicate, because when you do some of these climate surveys, the most common thing that leadership is hit on is communication and lack of communication. And lack of communication will lead to a breakdown in trust amongst your staff. And so communication is the number two quality that a leader needs to work on. The number three that we'll talk about, and I asked my wife this question yesterday, so I'll include it, and this comes out of James. She would call it patience. James 1 would call it quick to listen, slow to speak, and slow to anger. The Marine Corps has 14 traits in leadership, 11 leadership principles. They would probably call this bearing. The way I think we can describe that is, when making decisions or as you go about your day-to-day interactions with your staff, or with your higher headquarters, or even with your subordinates, we need to make sure we act devoid of emotion. A lot of people call that, hey, it's not personal, it's just business. Devoid of emotions, you need to speak in a pragmatic, straightforward manner, and you can't react to circumstances that you don't find fitting to your narrative or you don't agree with. So if somebody brings you bad news, how do you handle it? That's one of the questions. And Jordan recently did a devotion on calm breeds calm, chaos breeds chaos, and that's what we're talking about here. When you have bearing and you're calm, even if somebody comes to you in chaos, you will breed calm just by being able to maintain your bearing through that situation or that scenario or that discussion. So as James says, quick to listen, slow to speak, slow to anger, right? And so as we wrap this up, this very short vlog on leadership characteristics or traits, the 3 things that a leader should have in his toolkit when he's leading his team is integrity, communication, and bearing. Thanks for joining us today on Red Letter Leadership.